Hello, and welcome to ICMM, Living Life Unpaused, the podcast version. I'm your host, Abby Ventrilo, and I'm so glad you're here. Today is a big one because we have our very first guest, and I picked a good one for this. A man who spent more than 20 years climbing all the way to the top of the finance world and then walked right off the ladder to chase something completely different. Trust me, you're going to want to hear how this one goes. So let's get into it. So picture this. You've done the thing everyone tells you to do. You went to school, you got the degree, you put your head down, and you climbed. Auditor, accountant, finance manager, director, vice president, and then you reach the top of the mountain, chief financial officer, the corner of the org chart that says you made it. And then one day, you walk away from it. Not because it fell apart, not because you got pushed, but because you did the one calculation a finance person isn't really trained to do. You ran the numbers on your own life. My guest today is my good friend, Jim Wiegand. Jim spent more than 20 years in finance, most recently as the CFO. By every external measure, he had arrived, and he decided that arriving wasn't the same as living. So he traded the spreadsheets for squat racks. He researched the fitness world, found a model that actually matched what he believed, evidence-based strength training, 30 minutes, twice a week, built on the idea that exercise is medicine. And in February of this year, he opened the doors to his very own Discover Strength studio in Flemington, New Jersey. And here's why I wanted him on the show. Jim is living proof of two things at once: that you can rewrite your life on purpose, and that getting strong might be one of the smartest investments you ever make. We're going to talk about both. So, Jim, welcome. I am so glad that you're here with me today.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me here. And that was a fantastic introduction. No, thank you so much. That was great.
So, tell me just kind of a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I went to Boston College, got a degree in accounting, got a job as an auditor. Very standard, simple career path. Went from accounting, just like you said, into the finance world. And I tracked, I think, as most people expect someone with my background and where I was in my life would. But I realized as a CFO when I reached that I was not happy. And the other thing too is I was working for my mentor, my friend, the best leader I ever had. I worked for her for almost 20 years on and off 3 different times. So it was not a leadership issue. It was a me issue, right? So by all definitions, I should have been happy that I was successful. I was successful, but not happy. And I just realized that I was upset and angry all the time at work, and I always had a problem, and I always had an issue, and there was all these things, and I had a realization that it wasn't everybody else, it was me. I was mad and angry because I wasn't happy, it wasn't everybody else. So the minute I stopped blaming others and started blaming myself for the situation, that's when I had my aha moment, or the realization that I had to make a change. So that was my biggest moment, was the fact that I had to take ownership. I had to be the one to change the direction. It was no one else's fault, even though I know we've all been there, annoyed by what somebody's asking you to do, or annoyed about another meeting, or annoyed about a question you're being asked. But at the end of the day, it wasn't what they were asking or wanted me to do, or how I was supposed to show up at work. It was me. And that was my aha moment. And the minute I realized that, nothing changed because I was still employed and still working there, but I just became so much more self-aware of what was going on and knew what I had to do. I either had to accept that and be like, this is the way it's going to be. And I had to either move on from that and accept it and acknowledge that, or I had to make a change. And I realized to myself, I had to make that change.
How did you, and I think this is probably one of the hardest things to figure out, what is that change? Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to pivot to if it's not this? So kind of tell me about that process for you.
Yeah, so I would say going back to probably when I was in college, I wanted to work for myself and have my own business of some sort. I always knew that. So that thought was always there. I thought it was something I'd eventually do. But as I kept progressing in my career, I kept getting promoted. I kept getting paid more. I kept getting to that next ring or that next job. I was never fired or let go. I was always doing well. So I just kept putting it on the back burner, and I had 3 kids, and it was never a right time, quote unquote, to do it. So I just kept pushing it away, pushing it away. The thought of owning my own business was always, always there. But when I was at this job and so unhappy and I realized I had to do something else, I will say my first consideration was to go look for another job. But that was very short-lived, and as I'm looking through this, I'm like, none of these are gonna make me happy either. Like, I'm just going from one fire to the next, it's not gonna change, and when I say it's short-lived, I mean, I probably spent 2 weeks looking at other jobs or talking to recruiters, and I'm like, "This is not gonna help me." So when I decided to do that, I originally thought the the one thing I did know when I was gonna make this change, that I am not smart enough to do this on my own. I knew that I either had to buy a business, an existing one that was already up and running, or had to join a franchise. So that was the only thing I did know going into this, that I knew enough that I didn't know enough to start my own business. 'Cause I was gonna go into the fitness business, and the reason I knew that, that's when I looked down at myself, I said, "What do I wanna do?" I enjoy fitness, I enjoy working out, I enjoy helping people. It was already a hobby of mine, I already read about it, I already knew a lot about it. I was already helping train family or write programs for people, and I always enjoyed that, and it really was something I was passionate about anyway. So knowing I had that, I knew I wanted to go in that. I knew it was something I could do to help people. So it kind of encompassed all of that for me. So that's kind of how I knew. It was very easy for me to narrow down what I wanted to do. It just was how I was going to get there. Was the tougher decision.
Okay, so let's talk about the process of
Mhm.
how did you find Discover Strength and how did you get into that process? Because I think that buying into a franchise or figuring out what that is, I think that's some of the scariest stuff for people.
Yeah. No doubt about it. So there's a lot of websites out there for people selling their companies. So I looked into buying an existing gym. And when I started researching that, the ones I found, they weren't the right fit for me. I knew they were either way too far away or financially not viable for me to pursue, or a lot of people selling franchises. So when I started looking at buying those, I started researching franchises. I could buy these and I think they would have been financially successful, but I'm like, I didn't believe in it. I'd buy a gym or a franchise or something, but I'm not going to work out that way. I knew that wasn't how what I wanted. So as I went through this process, you just start researching franchises out there, and I found Discover Strength. As I was researching it, I forgot that I was also following Discover Strength on like YouTube. So finally I put the two and two together because I already liked the way they worked out and some of their knowledge. And so I reached out to them about starting a franchise. And then I met their head of business development, and we just literally hit it off from the first phone call. I still was very much in, I don't know if this is the accounting finance guy, me do my due diligence. I was down the path with 2 other franchises, making sure I was researching them that were a similar type, but not exactly the same, but it wasn't even close to what Discover Strength was offering me and the way I felt about it. So I would say I lucked out in finding them, but I did have a very clear idea of what I wanted and what I wanted to be involved with and the area I wanted to. And being the accounting finance guy, I also had all the numbers prepared. So I already had basic idea of what I can spend, how I could go about this financially too. What I would highly recommend for somebody is, what do you want that change in career or the change in light, whatever you're doing, especially if you're going down a franchise route, what do you want? Are you looking to do something that you're passionate about, you want to be involved with in the day to day? I knew that's what I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be there every day, running it, be involved. Or are you looking at the franchise as an investment or something you basically just kind of set up and you just hope to make money off of? So those are two very different things. And that would be my only suggestion to people. What kind of franchise are you looking to get? Is it just an investment or is it something you really believe deeply in that you really want to be part of? And that's why I chose Discover Strength. I knew it was something I could be part of. It's not just an investment. That would be my one suggestion to anybody's really have that clear decision. And if it's just going to be an investment, make sure you have somebody that can run it and be there and do it all the time if you don't feel passionate about it. Remember, you own the company, you're the owner,
Yeah.
and you got to try to, no matter what, you're always selling. So you got to sell this to somebody. If you don't have a passion for it, or it's not something you would do, or someplace you would go spend your time with, it's hard to own something like that. So that would be my only suggestion to somebody is make sure you really believe in it and it's something you would do or take on or spend your money on.
So obviously there's a process here. It's not like
Yeah.
you decided this and then you open the gym the next month. So talk a
Right.
little bit about that process. Like how long did
Yep.
it take and what kinds of things were you looking at?
Yeah. So when I finally decided with Discover Strength, I had a lot of meetings with their head of business development. So we met probably almost every other week. We had a call just to see where we were at. Number one step in that was to meet with the business development person, have a couple conversations with them, make sure we understood each other. And then the next step was to get the financing, right? To make sure I met their financial guidelines and how you go about that. So that was a separate process and that would be different for everyone depending on how you're going to fund that. I had used some of my own money and then I was going for an SBA loan too. That takes an extra step. So if you were using all your own money, you wouldn't have that, but that was an extra process. So I had to make sure I get all of that set up and done property. I had a company help me do that to make sure there's a lot of steps and processes and legal documentation to go through. So I did hire somebody to help me do that to make sure, even though it's part of my background, I wanted to make sure I did everything properly. That was a huge process for me that took some time too. I started talking to Discover Strength in right about end of September, October timeframe. And then I went through all the processing, got all the funding. I was also at time at work, being accounting finance guy. End of the year budgets was all that also at that time too. So I also had to slow play a little bit of that because I was just so busy at work. They asked me to come out in March. Every franchise has something similar. They called it the Discovery Day. I went out there, met the team, the CEO. I went visited their studios, went through an official workout. I had dinners, we had lunches. And then from there, after that meeting, you decide if you want them and then they decide if they want you. So it's sort of like a job interview, but it is both ways. Then they decided that, hey, look, yeah, we're going to grant you the franchise. Then it's like, let's go find a place, find a location. And that's what took a real long time was trying to find a location. So eventually I found a location in July and then I was open up at the end of February. So by the time the build out and all that was done, it was a long, long process getting through that.
So about a year and a half or 2 years closely?
Just about a year and a half, probably.
And while you were doing that, you were still doing your regular job as the
hmm
CFO.
Yeah. So I did my regular job up until basically February of 2026. I mean, again, this was the lucky part for me since I did know my boss so well. I've known her for so many years. I just had a very frank conversation with her and said, look, I'm quitting. I'm starting my own franchise. It's a dream of mine. It's something I've always wanted to do. And she was like, I love it. I think that's awesome for you. I'm so happy for you. I gave them 3 months of lead time before I was going to quit. And then I actually consulted for them part time after that while I was getting the gym and everything. So I was very lucky in that situation. And I was even keep working for them for a while, all the way basically up until the gym opened. So it worked out really well for them. and then really well for me. But, you know, I've always had that. I'm just gonna be frank and very honest with you. I wasn't gonna try to hide this once I knew it was going down. I just had the conversation with them.
Do you feel like once you finally made that decision and started to make the move, that you said that you were not happy at work and you didn't like who you were? Did that instantly change for you, or was it still kind of a process?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I was working and still doing everything, that was an instant moment for me where I was still not as happy, but I was already happier. Like, even when I realized it was me and I controlled the way I feel towards things.
Mhm.
It was me, not anyone else, how I reacted to it. That's for me to control. Even at that moment, I started feeling better. I mean, I wasn't happy doing the work I was doing, but at least that made me better. And then, yes, the minute I signed like the franchise agreement and then told my work, yeah, I really felt like it. I really felt like true happiness, right? I mean, it was a great moment.
I think people don't think that you'll have, like you said, the aha moment or this moment where you just make the decision to move forward with what makes you happy regardless of what's happened. And somebody asked me, I was like, I'm feeling more like myself than I felt in a really long time. And it's kind of a hard feeling to describe, but it is that moment where I think you realize I'm going back to who I am. This wasn't a crisis, a midlife crisis or whatever you might say. This is me getting back to myself and who I truly want to be. And I think it is a moment. It is a sudden switch where you just make that decision. Talk about the lessons that you've learned because I'm sure it wasn't all smooth throughout this process.
No, it was not all smooth. I always think like the one lesson I'm still hemming and hawing on is like, should I have done this sooner? Right. And I don't necessarily know I should have done it sooner. I don't know. I didn't have that aha moment. So looking back, it's like, man, I wish I'd done this sooner. I wish I'd done this sooner. But, again, everything I was on path for was what I wanted, what I thought I
Right.
wanted. So it's hard to say that. I would definitely say making sure that Marcy, my wife, and I were on the same page the whole time and having those discussions about it. We did do that, but I think I could have been even better at that, right? So that I think I would have had more detail and better conversations around that. The other thing too was, and as hard as financially as this would have been, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do consulting work for my company and to keep working. I would have quit. I would have stopped that even earlier. I wish I gave myself even more time to focus on the business before I started. And that is probably my biggest regret. Financially, that was very hard because I was trying to balance the finance, but looking back, it would have been that I really focused even more on the business ahead of time. So I was even more up to speed and ready to go for when it opened, without a doubt. I just wish I had trained a little bit more. I learned a little bit more. I prepped a little bit more. I feel like that could have been a little better, a little smoother going into it.
And I think probably what people don't realize since they don't know you is that you do have 3 kids, one
Yeah.
getting ready to go to college this year. So
Yes.
it's not, I mean, this is financially a risk for you
Oh,
and the family,
yes.
but trying to balance it and keep everybody sane in your family too, I'm sure was a stress.
It, it was. Again, my kids are we talked to them about it. We said it. I don't know how much of it registered with them. I mean, they do understand it. But yeah, 100%. That was a huge risk and stress. And like I said, Marcy's a finance person. I'm an accountant. So we did run the numbers over and over again to make sure we could survive through this because we knew the first year was going to be rough to say the least, right? We're still in that pattern right now. So, I mean, without a doubt, that was definitely one of the biggest challenges that we faced, but we were also very upfront with our kids of what was happening, what was going on, what I was doing, how this was going to impact them, what changes we were going to have to make. So they knew we didn't hide any of that from them so that they knew exactly what was going on too. It was a big risk, but I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing. There's never a right time. So you have to do it or don't. And if you don't, that's fine, but you have to accept it. You can't just say there's never going to be a right time. Because if we waited for all 3 kids to get out of colleges,
Yeah.
so it just there's never a right time to do it. So it's where are you at? So
Okay. As you've opened this, you've been open for 3 months now,
mhm,
right?
yep.
Have you discovered not all of it is gonna be rosy? So are there parts of it that you were like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was gonna have to deal with this."
Yes, I do all the introductory workouts. So that's when you come in and I give you a workout and I walk you through the process and I have to sell you on it. I am not a salesperson. I'm an accounting and finance guy. And I was really like, ugh, I don't like selling. I don't like doing this. I hate asking people for money. What am I going to do? But because I believe in what I do so much and because I literally do what I'm selling, it has been easier than I thought. I think it's like everything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. But because I have such a belief in it and because I have such a passion for it and because I do it and because my whole family does it and comes here, because of that, I'm not really selling as much as it is as I'm just having a conversation with somebody. And that's been a little bit easier than I thought, without a doubt. That has 100% been better than I thought it was going to be. And more people are signing up than I thought. It's been harder than I realized to get leads. I thought that would be a little bit easier process. I have a marketing company and I'm on social media and all of that. That part has been harder than I thought. The biggest thing that I have also been surprised about has been people thanking me. I'm shocked by that. You're my client. You're paying me to do this. This is my But to feel the reverse of that and people to thank me and have a genuine interest and really want me to be successful, people I don't know, like I just met, they just started training and that has been the response and the feedback, the support from people I literally just met has been overwhelming. That it was one thing I did not expect.
You talk a little bit about when you were looking at the gym franchises, Discover Strength was the one that fit you the best. Can you talk a little bit about why that is?
Their core values lined up with my core values. So I think that's important. The method they train in, being science based, being efficient, how they train is exactly how I was training before. I was already following the people that they use as their guides. So I already knew some of them. So all of that is a complete hit. Um, and then when I met the corporate team, met the rest of the business development team, and I met the CEO, I was like, yeah, these are people I want to be in a room with. These are people I want to work with. And to me, that was huge. And then I got to talk to some other franchise owners. And that's when I was really like, yeah, this is the group, this is the type of people I want to be around. And then for me personally, for the Discover Strength that I loved is that their approach is we are a customer service company that does strength training. We're not a strength training company that focuses on customer service. So our number one thing is customer service. And I love that approach. The other thing I did love with Discover Strength is they have whole learning management system of how to do everything. And I love that. And then the last thing I would say I truly loved about Discover Strength is they focus on leadership and management development. We don't just spend the time on how to run a franchise or do an exercise or how do you create a workout. It's how do you become a better leader? How do you become a better manager? What are the systems in place to do that? I was still learning and growing.
Love that they don't just turn you loose and kinda leave you alone. They're supporting you because the better you are and the better leader that you are, the better the business will do too.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about the science behind this. So, why should people strength train? How should people strength train?
People should strength train because it's the closest thing we have to a fountain of youth. It's not an overstatement. Strength training can help everything from cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, helps with obesity, weight management, all kind of skeletal issues, whether it's arthritis, osteoporosis, helps injury prevention, injury recovery, helps with frailty, sarcopenia, aging, cancer, lowers all cause mortality, helps with treatment tolerance, meaning the stronger you are, the better you are at recovering from some sort of injury. It's even now proven that it helps with mental health, right? It helps with depression, it helps with anxiety, it helps with cognitive decline, it helps you with sleep. I mean, it literally improves every aspect, every area of your life. It provides more benefits than any other type of working out. I'm not saying you shouldn't do any types of working out, but what I'm saying is you should at least strength train. And it requires so little time to do it.
I think when most people hear strength train, they think big, heavy weights. And what if I'm somebody who hasn't ever touched a weight? How do I start? Do I have to start heavy?
Nope, you don't have to start heavy. I would say in general, you should have a training partner. You should hire a trainer to get you going, to make sure you're doing the exercises properly, to make sure you have a proper workout routine, to make sure that you're being pushed properly. Because this, the most of us, and I will speak for myself included, I don't train nearly as hard as when I have other people training me. The 30-minute strength training once a week, you can improve. You have to be working hard. So you have to be at close to failure or near failure or fatigue, meaning you're getting to the point where you can no longer lift the weight with good form. As long as you're hitting that, if you do that once a week, you can get strength gains. And the goal is to progress. So, what does progression mean? So, progression means if you did something for 10 reps, you do it for 11 reps. Or maybe you added 5 pounds to what you were doing, or 2 pounds to what you were doing the week before. As long as you're always progressing every week, you can get stronger. Twice a week is better. You really don't need to do more than that because once you hit 3 times a week, science has shown you really don't see significant amount of gains for doing that extra session. So twice a week for 30 minutes will give you more than enough. Will get you optimal results.
So, if somebody comes to work out with you,
Mhm.
what does that look like? Like, if I
Yep.
show up and say I want to do a workout with you, what does that look like?
When you come to me, you get a full body workout. So we work your upper body, chest, tries, shoulders, back and biceps every workout. We work all your major leg muscles every workout, hips, glutes, hamstrings, quads, every single workout. And then we do some sort of midsection exercise. Could be low back, it could be abdominals, every single workout. It's about 9 to 11 exercises, and it's only one set of an exercise, and then you move on to the next one. So we're not doing multiple sets, meaning you're not doing an exercise multiple times. You do it once, we get you to failure or close to failure, and then we move on you to the next exercise.
You talk about failure. What does that really look like? What does that mean? I think we hear the word failure, we automatically think it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. So this is the one time you really want to fail, right? It's failure, or and sometimes referred to as fatigue. It's literally where you are moving, doing a movement, you're lifting a weight, and you cannot do it anymore.
What about the person who's like, I'm too old to start this?
Science has shown you're never too old. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they can still make improvements. My parents are 91. They still train with me today. So yeah, anyone can do it. And even if you have an injury with some part of your body, you can still train the rest of your body.
What's the one thing? If people are going to do one thing, they're going to leave this conversation. What is that one thing for you?
To me, that's very simple. It's strength training. It's just start strength training. It's as simple and as easy as that. The hard part is consistency, is doing it. You're better off if you're going to do 50 workouts, you're better doing 50 workouts over 50 weeks than it is to do 50 workouts in 10 weeks. consistency is the key. It's just doing it every single week. 1 or 2 workouts once a week is not that hard.
I was gonna say, you said 30 minutes is all you really need once
Yeah,
a week to make
yeah,
a difference.
yeah, you can make a difference, yeah, yeah. So 30 minutes twice a week's even better. People should stay active and do something every day. That's what our bodies are built for, but doing specific strength training, you gotta incorporate that in some way, shape, or form. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I thank you for being here with me today. If there's one thing that you want people to remember from this conversation, what would that be?
I think one of the bigger challenges that people make when they wanna change their health and fitness journey, they decide to do everything all at once. Alright, tomorrow, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna run 5 miles, I'm gonna go on a diet, I'm gonna start strength training, I'm gonna do yoga, then I'm gonna no, 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 no. Just start one thing. I would recommend start strength training, but start one thing, get used to that. It's overwhelming to start making these massive changes all at once. You gotta start with one thing, get that, and be consistent at that, and then start a second thing. It's overwhelming, and then people fail, and it's because you just try to take on too much all at once. So start small, be consistent at it, and then it's so much easier to add the next thing.
I love it. Small continuous improvement. That's my
Exactly.
philosophy.
Exactly. I would agree. I would agree.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim. I loved having you here this week. And thanks for being my first guest on the show. I don't know if you realized that you were.
Yes, Marcy told me I did. So thank you, Abby. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic. I know you're gonna crush it too, so thank you so much.
Well, we'll definitely have you back and maybe do a workout with you.
Fantastic. That would be great. I would love it. Thanks, Abby. Bye. Have a good one.
Before you go, a couple of small favors because they genuinely make a huge difference for a little show like this one. If you are enjoying this podcast, the single best thing you can do is share it with one person you think would love it too. The word of mouth is everything. And please go out and rate and subscribe wherever you are listening. I know everyone says it, but those ratings and reviews are what help people find the show. And every one of them means the world to me. This is also a two-way street because this show is for you. So if you have questions you want answered, topics you think I should cover, or people you think I absolutely need to meet and put on this show, please tell me. You can send me a DM. You can email me at icmmlivinglifeunpaused@gmail.com, or you can head to the podcast page of our website at icmmlivinglifeunpaused.com. There's a form you can fill out to submit anything at all for the show. I read all of it, and so many of these episodes are going to come straight from your ideas. Thank you for spending part of your week with me. It means more than you know. I'll see you right back here next week. And remember, it's just one intentional thing every day that moves your life forward. Until next week, be careful out there.